Clout has become the new currency of our time. People risk their dignity, their safety, and sometimes even their freedom for a few fleeting moments of attention. A viral video, a trending post, or a headline-grabbing stunt can turn a stranger into a celebrity overnight. But fame built this way always comes with a cost. What begins as harmless entertainment often reveals hidden consequences and deeper social problems. Years before TikTok challenges and Instagram fame defined youth culture, the Boondocks was already warning us. Through satire and sharp commentary, the show exposed how the hunger for attention can twist values, distort ambition, and poison entire communities. Sadly, most people laughed at the satire without ever recognizing the deeper message it carried. That is what we're exploring today. How the Boondocks predicted clout culture long before it swallowed modern-day society. From its sharp parody of reality TV fame to its caricatures of self-destructive behavior, the show gave us a mirror to see what was coming. If only we had paid attention. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Here, we break down the hidden truths in media and culture, showing how Black representation and sharp satire often reveal more about our world than the news ever will. Subscribing means you won't miss any of our breakdowns of messages that matter. Now, let's get started. When the Boondocks first aired, many viewers expected little more than edgy humor and exaggerated characters. The animation style, sharp dialogue, and outrageous plotlines made the show easy to watch as simple comedy. Yet, beneath the surface, Aaron McGruder was actually building a mirror to society, using satire to warn audiences about cultural trends that were already forming. Among these, the rise of clout culture, the obsession with attention at any cost, was one of the clearest warnings the series delivered. Clout, before the term became mainstream, was essentially status gained from visibility. People who could capture attention, whether through music, drama, or spectacle, were elevated regardless of their actual talent or contributions. The Boondocks captured this obsession through its characters, who constantly sought recognition, validation, and fame. The show framed these behaviors as ridiculous, but it also revealed how easily audiences could be seduced by them. Riley Freeman, the youngest member of the Freeman household, embodied this hunger for recognition more than anyone else. As a child growing up in Woodcrest, Riley idolized rappers and celebrities who projected images of toughness and rebellion. He was less interested in substance or truth and far more focused on the appearance of being respected. Riley's constant attempts to mimic gang culture, copy rapper fashion, and exaggerate his own toughness reflected how youth absorbed toxic definitions of success. He wasn't seeking wisdom or stability. He was seeking validation, no matter how reckless the behavior required to get it. The satire sharpened when Thugnificent was introduced. A parody of Southern rappers like Ludacris, Thugnificent rose from extreme poverty in Georgia to become a rap star with a reputation built entirely on excess. His lifestyle was a performance of clout, a mansion adorned with Greek god statues of himself, endless parties, and public feuds designed to keep his name in circulation. His music was simple, but his persona was oversized, and that was what sold. Thugnificent wasn't just a character. He was a commentary on how the industry rewarded those who turned themselves into spectacles. And by making him a mentor to Riley, the show revealed how dangerous that influence could be on young minds. Where Thugnificent flaunted wealth and excess to keep his name alive, Gangstalicious built his image on toughness and exaggerated masculinity. His music, his fashion, and even his public behavior were designed to convince the world that he embodied the hard-edged persona rap culture often celebrates. But behind that mask was a truth he could never admit publicly. He was a gay man in an industry that punished any deviation from its rigid standards of masculinity. The satire wasn't mocking his sexuality. It was exposing the pressures of a system that forced him to hide it. Gangstalicious's life became a double performance. On one side, he projected the persona that sold records and earned him respect. On the other, he lived in fear of exposure, knowing that the same fans who cheered his bravado would turn on him if they saw who he really was. The Boondocks used his character to show how clout culture doesn't just reward a false image, it actively punishes authenticity when it doesn't fit the mold. Through Riley, Thugnificent, and Gangstalicious, the Boondocks demonstrated that clout chasing was already embedded in the culture long before TikTok or Instagram amplified it. The characters exaggerated real-world behaviors, but the exaggeration was the point. The show was trying to warn us that if society kept rewarding spectacle, image, and denial with attention, then those behaviors would multiply. The question that rises from these portrayals is unsettling. What happens when a culture stops rewarding substance and begins treating performance as the only thing of value? The Boondocks suggested the answer long before it became obvious in the real world. Once attention is the ultimate prize, industries step in to package, sell, and exploit it. Yes, if the Boondocks used satire to expose the seeds of clout chasing, it also went a step further by showing how entire industries profit from that hunger. Fame is not simply something people chase. It is something carefully packaged, marketed, and exploited by those who stand to gain from other people's chaos. The show revealed this process long before social media platforms industrialized it. Gangstalicious' story is one of the clearest examples. His music video, Homies Over Hoes, carried imagery that hinted at his personal life. And instead of being respected and seen as harmless creativity, it was dissected as evidence of hidden truth. The speculation grew louder when Jessica Wonder Cheeks Ethelberg released a tell-all book directly exposing his secret, and the industry seized on the scandal.
Rappers who once wanted to collaborate with him suddenly pulled away, and media coverage fed on the controversy because scandal drew more attention than honesty ever could. Each wave of exposure made him more profitable as a spectacle, but it chipped away at his stability. The result was a career propped up by gossip and denial, while the person behind the image was left misunderstood, isolated, and broken. Thugnificent's story delivers the same lesson from another angle. His fame was never built on lasting artistry, but on spectacle. Flashy anthems like Booty Butt Cheeks, over-the-top music videos, exaggerated feuds, and a loud persona that kept him in the spotlight. As his popularity declined, he clung to gimmicks, from overusing auto-tune to stirring beef with younger rappers like Sergeant Gutter. But these desperate moves didn't save him. They only made him easier for the industry to exploit. Eventually, his mansion was foreclosed, his lethal interjection crew abandoned him, and every attempt to reinvent himself fell flat. What his downfall exposed was how disposable he really was to the system. Once he stopped generating profitable chaos, the machine discarded him. The satire made the point clear: clout may elevate you for a moment, but when it fades, those who once profited from you will vanish. This exploitation did not stop with the artists. It extended to their audience. Riley is the clearest example of how fans are drawn into the cycle. He worshipped Gangstalicious and Thugnificent so completely that he copied their fashion, mimicked their behavior, defended them against obvious contradictions, and even put himself in danger to protect their reputations. What's worse is that his devotion was not unique. It represented how young fans fuel the system by rewarding destructive behavior with attention and admiration. This is why exploitation works in two directions. The industry pushes chaos downward, but audiences push it upward, feeding it with clicks, cheers, and defenses. Together, they create a loop where spectacle thrives at the expense of truth. The show's satire exposed a disturbing reality. A performer's worth is rarely tied to skill or artistry, but to the level of chaos they can create. Scandal, humiliation, and controversy are treated as assets to be monetized. Once this cycle begins, it becomes self-sustaining. The public rewards reckless behavior with attention. Industries amplify it for profit, and soon the distinction between genuine entertainment and outright exploitation disappears. By portraying this process through Gangstalicious and Thugnificent, the Boondocks revealed the machinery of clout culture before the term even existed. Today, that machinery is visible in every viral scandal and every influencer downfall that racks up millions of views. And this raises the next question. What happens when performers and the people who follow them stop living for authenticity and begin living entirely for image? Once clout became currency, identity itself started to erode. The Boondocks captured this transformation through characters who stopped living as themselves and instead lived as performances. The satire revealed a sobering reality. When society rewards image more than authenticity, people inevitably reshape their lives into acts designed for approval rather than truth. Gangstalicious shows this struggle most clearly. His career was built on projecting toughness and exaggerated masculinity, yet his private life clashed with the persona that made him famous. No, the character was never meant to mock his sexuality. Instead, the satire revealed how both the industry and the audience forced him to keep it hidden. In the story of Gangstalicious Part 2, Riley receives clothing from Gangstalicious's new fashion line. The designs carry obvious feminine elements, but Riley refuses to acknowledge them, because admitting the truth would mean admitting that his idol's image was false, and that denial mirrors Gangstalicious's own. He cannot live openly without destroying his career, so he maintains a mask. Because in clout culture, authenticity is punished whenever it disrupts the performance. Thugnificent's identity was equally hollow, though in a different way. His brand was built on excess, statues of himself, over-the-top music videos, and endless boasts about wealth and fame. His image was larger than life, but when the music stopped selling, there was nothing underneath. When the IRS seized his assets, when his crew abandoned him, and when his mansion was foreclosed, Thugnificent was left with only the shell of a persona. Without the illusion of success, his identity had no foundation. Because when a person builds their entire existence on clout, they become vulnerable the moment that clout fades. Riley copied Gangstalicious's fashion, parroted Thugnificent's behavior, and defended both against obvious truths. For Riley to admit that his idols were false would mean admitting that his own sense of identity, built on imitation, was fragile. This is where the satire becomes prophetic. Today, countless young people mirror influencers and celebrities, constructing their identities around someone else's performance. When that performance collapses, so too does the identity built upon it. The danger. The Boondocks revealed was bigger than individuals hiding behind false images. It showed how authenticity itself was being pushed aside as a cultural value. When visibility matters more than truth, wisdom, or stability, entire communities begin to measure worth by how much attention someone can command, rather than by what they actually contribute. Riley's denial of Gangstalicious's reality, Gangstalicious's secrecy, and Thugnificent's eventual collapse all serve as warnings. Image without substance is a fragile currency that will always collapse. From there, the show illustrated the next stage of this decline, when chaos itself becomes the most profitable act. In such a system, serious artistry and growth are ignored, replaced by whatever spectacle provokes the loudest reaction. The industry profits from it, the audience feeds it, and the performers caught in the middle are ultimately consumed by it. The Boondocks was always meant to hold up a mirror. The real question now is whether we are willing to face what it shows. The humor was never the issue. Comedy has always been a way to reveal hard truths. The issue is that we stopped at laughter. We treated the satire as entertainment and failed to reflect on the warnings behind it. Now, the very behaviors the show exaggerated for effect have become everyday reality. The world we laughed at on screen a few years ago is now the world we live in today. The moral lesson is, if we continue to ignore what satire reveals, then we allow clout culture to keep shaping our lives unchecked. Reflection, not just laughter, is the only way to break the cycle. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't stop here. There's a lot more to explore about how media and culture influence the way we see ourselves. Tap that subscribe button so you don't miss the next breakdown. and check out the other videos on this channel for more stories that expose the truths hiding beneath the entertainment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.